All right, welcome back. It's about ready to say to another episode, but this week we're switching up topics of discussion. Every week's probably going to be something a little different. Sometimes I may be doing some Music Mondays. When I have a guest ready for a podcast, I'll film a podcast. And for today's purposes, it is the new year. It is January 3rd of 2022. And I wanted to talk about something that's a hot topic of conversation at the beginning of each new year. And that is what a lot of people call their New Year's resolutions. Now, I'm not so much a fan of resolutions. I've kind of changed the way that I approach it. I call it my New Year's intentions. And I just want to clear up some headway on what I've observed from talking to people about this subject for the last few weeks, ever since I kind of got myself into the self development headspace, if you will. I'm a persistent, I was about ready to say overachiever. That may fit, but I'm just always trying to get better. I'm always trying to figure out what I can do to better my current standing, the current situation that I'm in. And 2021 was a breakthrough year for me. And at the beginning of the year, I kind of set out, there was like 5 basic core intentions that I wanted to work on. And all of them came true in 2021. Now, yes, that was kind of the overarching theme that I wanted to focus on. But as the year went on, obviously there were other things that I wanted to focus on. There were other things that I wanted to work on. So I just want to clear this up because I think a lot of people, when they create these New Year's resolutions, they think automatically, like you may be thinking about something that you want to do and the new year hasn't hit yet. So you're in November and you're like, oh, I got to lose weight. I got to get outside, I got to walk, I got to do this, I got to do that. But you're like, oh, I'll put it off because I got 2 months until the new year hits. So let's just leave it as my New Year's resolution. And I think that's a pretty shoddy way to attempt it. But in the same regard, that's kind of where my mindset sometimes goes to when the new year approaches. I'm like, automatically I think back to the previous year and I review it in its entirety. What was good, what was bad, what can I learn from, how can I get better? And then I try to apply all of that to these intentions that I'm creating going into the new year. It's just such a loaded subject because there's so much to unpack in it. Like, how do you make good intentions? How do you make good goals? You should be working on things, the entire year. You shouldn't just set those intentions for that year and then never focus on them again. I totally understand that. That's why it's kind of hard to describe, but I think the way that people should approach it now is, don't wait until January 1st of whatever year to get going on things, because likely it is that you're going to fail if you've continued to put things off month after month after month after month. It doesn't matter if it's a new year, it's not going to change you. I started thinking about what I really wanted to focus in on months before 2022 hit, but I used that first day to really kind of map it out because I have a vision board in my office and I don't even know how many intentions I have up there. Some are goals, some are intentions. But I spent like 30 minutes, really just kind of bringing anything that came to my mind on something that I wanted to work on, whether it's like a skill, a behavior of mine that I don't like, a habit. There's one up there about traveling again because last year I went to Utah by myself and this year I want to go out to Alaska. That's a big goal of mine. Another one is to have a certain amount of subscribers on my YouTube channel by the end of the year. So, you can really craft this in any way that you want to. But I think it starts with really just changing your mindset and your perception about this whole thing. Because again, people, if you're like a master procrastinator, a person that has put these things off for a long time. I don't think the New Year's resolution is going to do anything for you, and that's why I don't call it that. But for me, I've kind of found a system that works. And I call it my intentions. I write down the things that I want to become laser focused in on. That doesn't mean I'm always going to be successful. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to fail, because I am. And I don't just use the new year as that. This is the reason that I'm approaching this. I do this year round. I mean, for the last like 2 years or so, I've been doing monthly challenges. I'll either like take something away. Like the first month that I ever did it, I didn't drink coffee for an entire month because I go through spurts where I get addicted to coffee, and then I'm like, okay, I need to level off, and I stop doing it. I've done challenges on no fap and semen retention. I've done a monthly challenge on journaling every day. I've done a monthly challenge on doing gratitude every day. And then most recently, if you followed me on Instagram or you listened to my last podcast, which I only had for an audio version, I'm on 75 hard, and I'm actually fairly close to finishing. I finish 75 hard on the 15th of January. So this is kind of my mentality. This is where I've gotten myself to. I feel like I've leveled up in a sense, but I just wanted to provide some insight and hopefully some clarity to people, because it, maybe it won't work for you, but it's definitely worked for me. I think you need to change the way, if you are a person that is looking at the New Year's like, oh, here's my New Year's resolution. I'm going to do this, and that. Well, it usually never works for people. And also, sometimes people just overload themselves with these things that they want to accomplish. You got to keep it a little bit lower scale, especially, it depends on how overweight you are or how far behind you are in life. Depending on how far you've gotten yourself back in your goals, your personal life, your career, your health, relationships, all those sorts of things, you can't expect to make, leaps and bounds of improvement in a short period of time. You can make a lot of progress in a year. I feel like I'm a walking example of that for 2021, setting those intentions, sticking to them for the most part, and completely changing my mindset, my habits, all the things that I've done, created, and been about this entire last year. But it all started small. So again, I'll give you a small example here. I think I talked about it on my last podcast about my update on 75 Hard. Back in May of 2021, when I went through a breakup, a fairly rough breakup, I was leveled there for a second. Obviously, I think, everybody can feel those emotions that are deemed negative. It's in some sense grief. It's a loss. You're losing a person. And I didn't know how to cope with those things, especially being a male in our society. I'm 24. I turned 25 in March. I kind of grew up in that generation of kids that got like participation trophies for literally everything that they did. And also a part of that too is that negative aspect of our society that has deemed men not worthy of, paying attention to their emotions and allowing their emotions to be there. So anyways, that was a whole big serious event that happened in my life. And yeah, I wasn't with the girl for that long, so I'm not going to say that I was in love or like I had butterflies, but I had emotions. I had feelings for her, especially, I don't know how you guys are. I think you're a psychopath if you don't catch feelings for somebody if you're having sex with them on a consistent basis. I feel like that's enough for me to catch feelings just because that's how I am as a person. But anyways, so I really needed to find an outlet to deal with that whole situation. And I started walking outside every day. I've always been a fit guy. I've never been overweight, but I didn't have this habit with me prior to May of 2021. I wasn't walking outside consistently. I wasn't being in nature, getting away from my phone, getting off of social media. And at first it was very uncomfortable and hard for me to really derive any meaning or any positive emotions from the experience, because I was using those walks as a way to handle the emotions, to sort out my thoughts, to talk it out loud. I would literally, and I still do it to this day, and I don't care if I sound fucking crazy to you guys. I use my walks as a way to communicate, to get things out of my head. I pray to God. I talk to myself. I talk myself through issues. And sometimes it's not good enough. Sometimes I have to talk to other people too. There's nothing wrong with that. But I feel like I've gotten a lot better at handling emotions, issues, circumstances, situations based on the fact that I've created this really good habit of walking every single day. And it started back from that negative. At the moment, I thought it was negative, but it turned out to be a blessing in disguise. But it's cultivated this mindset. So like in May and then all throughout the summer, getting that routine down. But then it trickled over. I would meditate every morning. I've only missed a few mornings of meditation since May. I journal fairly often. I used to journal every day, but I don't really think it's necessary. Sometimes if I'm journaling too much, I don't know what to write about. In the summer, I was taking my last class at Simpson. It was a summer online 8-week course. So every single day after I'd done my meditation and journaled, I would get up and I would go to the coffee shop and I would do a little bit of homework each and every day. That way, I wasn't overwhelmed at the end of the week procrastinating to get papers turned in, to get assignments done. So I'm applying that small example of walking after going through the breakup to this bigger piece of the puzzle. So it's like, look how far I've come in not even a year's time. We're in January of 2022. I imagine things will look a lot different in May of 2022. And I'm going to look back at the last year from that breakup, at that moment where I felt like I was devastated and things were crumbling, to look at the person that I've become. And so that's the way that you guys got to approach this. Anytime you're trying to change a habit or a set of habits, start with one. It's so hard to change a habit that you might as well start with one, because if you try and change 2, 3, 4 at a time, you're definitely going to be unsuccessful. And even with that first one, you'll probably be unsuccessful. But don't get hard on yourself. Don't beat yourself up. It's okay. It's normal. If you've been doing something for a long period of time, it's going to be uncomfortable when you try and do something different. Your brain is actually like, bro, like what the fuck is going on? So that's my advice. And I just wanted to kind of like get it out of my head because I've been thinking about the new year. I'm a huge proponent of like self-development. I obviously think, and I've done this before in my past too, that I take self-development too far. And I don't appreciate what I've accomplished and who I am right now, all the work that it took to get me to where I'm at. But, I kind of get upset at people that, I don't believe in New Year's resolutions. I think you need to change the way that you're thinking about it. But I don't like the people that don't see value in it. It's like, okay, I understand. You shouldn't wait until the new year to get specific about what it is that you want to work on and change. But I think in some ways, it acts as a place in time where you can reflect on the last year, and now we can reassess, reassemble, which you should already be doing before the new year hits. I won't say that that's the case either. And then, but because the year is up for review, we're going into a new year, automatically people's minds just start to kind of analyze what they've been doing for the last year. Was it productive? Was it healthy? Was it beneficial to you? And so I just want you guys to think about it differently. I use the new year as a way to set intentions and goals. And you got to break that down into sub goals, sub compartments. And I really think, that's the only way that you're going to be successful. So that's just my take on it. If you guys have any opinions or comments on what I just said, leave a comment below. Before I quit the video, I've been saying this the last few times in the podcast, YouTube channel, all that stuff. If you're new here, if you got something of value, if something I said resonated with you, made you change your perspective, made you look at things differently, I'm really pulling this from Andy Frisella, who is one of the guys that I really look up to. He's the guy that created the 75 Hard program. I want to start operating on the same basis that he uses for his shows and the content that he creates. we live in America. This is a value exchange. If I give you something of value, please go out and tell your friends. Please share the video. Have a conversation about it. Like it, subscribe, comment, because that's the way that this grows. And I really do enjoy doing this. I love talking about these things. I want to provide entertainment. I want to do more podcasts with interesting individuals. It's just going to take time, I've only been doing this for 2 years, so that's still a very small amount of time. But I'm getting more confident. I'm growing in my posture and how I express myself on the camera. And so it would really be appreciated on my end if you guys would do me a freaking solid. And I probably sound exactly like Andy Frisella, but I don't fucking care. That is how we should be approaching any content that you consume. If you like it, you need to tell your friends, your like-minded friends about it, family, whatever, because it helps out so much. So anyways, that's the podcast. I'm gonna make it a podcast, and I'm also gonna post it on YouTube so you guys can watch the video. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I love you guys, and I will see you on the next video. Bye-bye.